This is a laser scanner. What's that all about then, laser scanning? Have you just bought one and you don't know how to use it? Or are you thinking of buying one and wondering what it can do? Well, if that's the case, you've come to the right place, because in this tutorial, I'm going to tell you the basics about laser scanning. I'm going to show you how to set up, I'm going to show you how to scan with lasers your first part. So, if that's what you want to see today, then you come to the right place. Stick around, I'm going to show you how to do it in easy to buy chunks. Oh, and the bonus content today and all is I'm going to show you how to use what they call global marker scanning. It's a brilliant feature. So, stick around, let's get right to it. Hello, I'm Charlie and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk to you about the basics of laser scanning. The scanner we're going to use today in this tutorial is this one here, Sermoon S1 from Creality. It's a brilliant laser scanner. As you can see, it's very similar to the Autolight that I've used in previous tutorials, and it works roughly in the same way. Either NIR light or laser light is emitted from the centre of the scanner. It goes out to the item that's being scanned, and it gets reflected and picked up by these cameras here on the outside. Then the software then works it out a point cloud, and away you go. So the buttons on the back of the scanner, you've got start-stop scanning in the middle, brightness up on the right, brightness down on the left, and then you've got a plus and a minus here, and that actually changes the zoom within the software. It's a great little feature of this scanner. So if you're basically struggling with a little tiny part and you're just trying to get the detail and you can't quite see it, you can actually press the zoom in a little bit and get a closer image of just that particular part. And then obviously zoom back out again then when you've got what you want and you want to move on. So how does the laser scanner work then? Some laser scanners will track features, but not this one, and that is quite an advanced feature of laser scanners. Basically what you have to do is you have to put marker dots onto the item that's being scanned, or you have to introduce into the scanning area marker dots. Just like in a previous tutorial, I showed you how to introduce features into the scanning area, like the egg box I did on the last tutorial. What you have to do in laser scanning is actually introduce markers. So here's a box of markers then. You've got these 6mm dots here and you've got these 3mm dots. Now putting these dots on and off an object is time consuming and it's a right pain in the backside, to be honest. So what a lot of people do, including myself, is we put the dots onto items and then you put those items into the scanning area. I've got a load of them 3D printed. This one here that I'd like to call the shields, and as you can see, it'll just sit on the turntable like that and have the dots visible to the scanning area. Now these dots have to be put out in a random fashion. They can't be uniform in any way at all. So let's say this was the item to be scanned, for instance. We could then bring the shields in around the edges, and then wherever the scanner looks at the item, it could be seeing the dots. I also use these little domes. How great they are. And the reason I like them as well is because of the shape of them. So if a scanner is looking down at that, depending on what angle it's looking at, you can still see the dots square on. And I have these little pyramids. Again, the scanner could see them from all different angles. Okay, that's enough of the explanation. You people have come here to see some scanning. So let's clear the table off, set up a scanning, and I'll bring you back shortly. Okay, so we set up a scanning and as you can see, rabbit's made an appearance again. It's a bit of a boring object, I'll grant you that, but detailing his coat is really good for these sort of demonstrations. So let's stick with rabbit, give him another outing. So at the time of this recording then, Creality Scan is at 4.1.7. What have we got in the settings? We've got blue laser mode or infrared mode. Infrared mode is just like we did with the Creality Autolight. Blue laser is what we're interested in today. We've got point cloud, we've got global marker. I'm saving global marker for later on. First of all, I'm just going to scan in point cloud mode. Real-time resolution. Basically, this isn't what you finish up at. If you set this at 0.5mm, when the scanner thinks that it's got something scanned at an accuracy of 0.5mm, it will turn that part of the scan blue on the screen. And obviously, if you went down to 0.3, it'll turn it blue when it gets to 0.3. It goes up as high as 2 and as low as 0.1. I normally scan for what I want to do at 0.2mm. But let's say, for instance, you scanned at 0.3mm. It doesn't mean to say that you can't fuse it at 0.2mm. All that 0.3mm is telling you is the software will turn blue in that particular part of the scan when it has reached an accuracy of 0.3. So obviously, if your final resolution is going to be 0.2, it makes sense that it's 0.2 on here. And then we've got 3 laser modes: cross lines, parallel lines, and single line. Cross line is said to gather data faster. Parallel lines, it's slower, but it's more detailed. And the single line, the graphic on here explains, is for deep hole scanning, and it works really well. Now, I haven't got any deep holes in Rabbit today, so I won't be using that one, but it's a subject matter for a future video. The cross lines mode on this scanner as well has a larger field of view to the parallel lines and to the single line, which goes hand in hand with the fact that it can gather data faster over bigger areas. So I'm going to scan Rabbit then, cross lines, and then parallel lines, and then I'll compare them in Meshmixer afterwards just to see whether there's any difference in the actual scanning detail. First of all, then, as I said, point cloud, cross lines, 0.2 millimeter resolution, and we click on preview. I'm going to start scanning by pointing the scanner at the Rabbit, making sure that both of the lenses can see the Rabbit at any one time. So when I come down to the bottom here, I've got to be careful that shield, for instance, isn't blocking the sight. It'd be all right when I'm there, but obviously as this rotates around, it should stop it, wouldn't it? So what I'll probably do when I get low is to drop it down like that to actually scan the base. What will happen now as well is, as I start scanning, the software will look for markers, and it will basically build up a map in its database of where all the markers are. And at the same time, it's scanning. So then when you go round and you start rotating and more markers come into the field of view, the laser scanner will basically log where those are and then keep scanning, and so on and so forth. And it goes all the way around until it's basically got all the markers in its database. It's doing 2 things at once here, really. It's building up a map of the markers, and it's building up a map of the item to be scanned in the form of a point cloud. With global marker scanning, which I'll show you later, you actually get the markers in the database first, which I think is a better method, but I'll show you that on the parallel line scan. So as you can see, pointing it at the Rabbit and rotating the turntable slowly, letting the scanner do its thing. Now what I tend to do, and what a lot of people tend to do, is you tend to move it too fast like this, as if you're painting it. It's hard to get away from that habit sometimes, but you've got to try and just keep it nice and steady. Let the lasers do their bit. The difference in laser scanning to full field scanning is the laser will only scan in thin lines, where a full field view will basically take like a picture, you know what I mean? It'll take a picture all in one go. So because it's the laser lines, you have the tendency to move it around. But with these cross lines, the mere fact of rotating it like this is enough. Let's just continue around then. Now, I don't know whether you can tell from this picture and the way I'm holding the scanner, but I'm holding it quite a distance away because it's got a larger field of view. Dropping it down like that, coming all the way around. So look where we are at that then. Now, I've got a fair bit of noise in here. That's because of this monitor reflecting it. Because this was scanned on a turntable with marker dots on it, I can use this clipping plane feature at the top here. So I'll click on that, press down the Alt key, click on 3 markers that are on that plane, then click Create Plane. Could then move it up if I wanted to get out more, but in that angle. Or I could bring it down to below if I'm thinking it's taking too much in. But I was quite happy with what it was doing, so I'll just click that and it basically deletes everything from that plane below. See if my selected components trick is going to work here. Almost, just missing his feet out. So if I press Shift and select his feet as well, I can bring him into there. Then I'll go Invert Selection and delete that and finish it. And that's basically got the bearing. Flip him over then. Okay, I've stood him on his ear holes. I'm going to race around this now then, and I'll bring you back at the end. Clipping plane, 3 points. Boom, done. Finish. Connect the components. Oh, missing his head. Let's just select his head as well. Invert the selection, delete. Fuse them both to 0.2 together. There they are. If I now go to Mesh Processing and Alignment and use Auto Align, let's see if it will pull these in together automatically. It should do. Now, some might say you need to remove this plasticine before aligning and fusing, but I don't, because I don't like to cut it off. I like to cut it off once it's been fused, because I think it makes the edges sharper. First of all, I've got to find out what scan that's on, and that's the one with the plasticine on. Chop off the plasticine there. Boom, gone. And then bring that scan back in. There we are. We've got a lovely scan at the top of his head now. Let's pull it down to there first of all. I need a bit more than that. Take that off, add the other scan back in, and there we are. I've got his feet back. Now I've missed bits round of his feet here like this. Is that because of the scanner and the fact of the cross lines? Is it just where it is, or wasn't I quick enough? It's probably a mixture of everything there, to be honest with you. So let's mash it at 2 million, because obviously if it doesn't need 2 million, it won't use them. And then I'm going to export that to the desktop and have a look at that in Meshmixer shortly. Now for scan 2 then. This one I'm going to do in parallel lines, and I'm going to use the global marker scan feature. We have to do a new project for this. New scan. We go to global marker. So once we're on the global marker screen, then we basically click on preview, and we now basically just scan the markers. So you press start on the scanner, and you're just basically scanning the markers. You're making a map of the software of all the markers, and you do it without the item in place if you want to. Obviously, if the item's got markers on it, you need to leave it there. It tells you at the top of the screen there, I've got 80. Click pause, then click on point cloud, complete it and start. Put our rabbit back on the turntable into the middle, being careful that you don't knock anything. Because obviously if you knock anything now, you've scrapped it and you've got to start again. So now the scanner doesn't have to build up a map of the markers, it's already got them in. It just uses them to navigate round and then capture the point cloud of the item to be scanned. Now you have to be a little bit closer on this now, because the field of view is smaller. Now when the scanner's in this orientation, it's best just to go up and down slowly. And as you can see, it builds it up lovely and slowly. It's lovely to watch. So as you can see, as I start to come round here now, here you've got the blue in there just where the scanner lines are. If I now start to move up, it starts to fill the gaps. If I zoom in, you can see it better there. See his ears? See the way his ears are just starting to fill in there, where the laser lines are. Now we come round a little bit now, look at his ears. Just filling in them little bits in his ears. Now when you get too far away, or too close, or something's blocking it, the laser lines disappear off the screen. That's a good indication that you're in the wrong position. So just move things around until all the laser lines are on there again. And then you can see it starts to scan. Let's turn it over onto the side a little bit. Move this away a touch there, you see, because the laser lines have disappeared. And basically come and do a revolution and just get some of the bits I've missed. Okay, I've got the top of his ears in quite well. I've got his feet in. I'll hopefully get the rest of him in when I flip him over. So, clipping plane. Select him. Invert, delete, finish. Let's flip him over then and carry on. Again, I'm going to race through this one, and I'll bring you back at the end when I'm about to merge them together. Okay, I've just done the global marker again, and I brought you back earlier because I wanted to just point something out to you. What you can actually do at this point here is you can actually export these global marker files. So just drop it on your desktop, and then that's saved then. So on another scan, for instance, I could import it and use it. Now on something like my setup here, I would never do that really, because I've only got to touch one of these shields and it's scrap. But some people have these like shields and have these tables set up and they never move. So it's a good idea then, if you know, to save it. Or let's say, for instance, you were scanning a car and you'd put like 300 or 400 markers on a section of a car. You might do a global marker scan once, save it, and then you wouldn't have to do it again then, because you can guarantee that they wouldn't move. But in this particular case, I'll just do a new one every time. I'll just spread this up for you, but you can see that I've scanned it the same as the other scans. Making sure I got in all the bits, especially in his coat. Fused it to 0.2, got rid of the plasticine on his ears and his feet, meshed it to 2 million triangles, and then exported it to Meshmixer. Okay, I've opened these up in Meshmixer now. Let's take a look at them. Now prizes for guessing which one's which. Yeah, you guessed it. That one is the cross lines. Good scan. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a good scan. You can see the writing on the foot. Next. Yeah, I'm starting to see detail in his coat. Those are really fine, those are. But the parallel lines, look at it. It's made a much better job, hasn't it? All the detail in his coat really starting to show through. Let's have a look at that one compared to that one. Yeah, a lot more detail in the end there, for instance. There's a lot more detailed. We're still missing a bit around his feet. I think the single line might have done that a bit better, because it's for getting into like hard to reach places. But today's demonstration was cross lines versus parallel lines. So there you go then, laser scanning basics. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, please like and subscribe. There is more to come. Until the next time, thanks for watching.